Right, chicken finished, so we've moved on now to planting some veg. We've learnt loads on Google the last few days. Because we can't get out and buy much, we're having to improvise again and use what we can find laying around. So here behind me, where we've started to clear some of the trees, we have got a load of dead wood that's been found, and a load of dead wood that we also found underneath the structure. And we've learned that there's a no-dig method of filling some raised beds. It's called the Hugel Kulture, and so I'll show you what that's about. So here's the first of the beds. Basically what it entails is filling an area with a load of dead wood. You can use like oak, birch, good old hardwoods. Pine, not good, because it gives off, when it breaks down, it gives off some sort of toxins. But you basically fill the bed with your rotted wood. I mean, again, pure fluke that we've got loads laying around. And then you'd cover it with either hay, straw or manure. So again, thanks to neighbours, we've got a load of horse poo turning up today. She's going to leave it in a little trailer at the end of the driveway, and we'll be able to wheel it up and put it on. And then you leave it for a year, although this year apparently you can put things like butternut and pumpkin in it, but the poo's a bit potent for anything else. And then by next year that should be ready to go. And this one here behind me, again, you can tell that we've run out of planks because we've used a couple of old trees. And this is I think it's called Ruth Stout method. Again, no dig, it's meant to be lazy gardening, so it's well up my alley. But basically you lay mud, which we've nicked a load from around the Foss septic out the front, because we've got one of the old sort of septics that just sort of basically runs into the garden, which is lovely. But things grow like mutant down there, so we've taken some of that from a couple of years ago, I hasten to add, and mixed it with a load of compost that we've had laying around in the old composter. And basically you put your potato sets on the top, which we've done, and then you lay it with about 6 to 8 inches of straw, and just wait really. And apparently they do their thing underneath, so we'll have to see how that one goes, if that's any success or not. Spent most of the day yesterday and the day before shoveling an absurd amount of horse poo around. So we've got some lovely blisters to prove that. So here we are. Having explained before, we needed for this Hugel Kulture method some relatively fresh horse poo. So the compost and manure that we've put in here is this year, so it's very fresh. It's quite hot, so it's a bit too warm to be able to plant anything in, although I think pumpkins might do quite well. Apparently you can put pumpkins or butternut squash in. That's completely buried all that dead wood, and that will be left for this year, and hopefully we'll be able to probably use it more productively come next season. However, we were also fortunate enough to get, although it's been drying in the sun, this which is about 2 to 3 year old horse poo, which is really, really fine stuff. It would cost a fortune to buy that in the shops. Probably mentioned before, it's about €4 a bag here, so we've done really well. We've managed to knock up this new bed, that new bed, and they're about 2 meters by 1 meter squared. And we've also managed to fill all of the other boxes. They're all about 1 meter cubed, or 2 by 1. It doesn't look too much from here, but that was actually about 1.5 large car trailer loads. So we really did spend all day shoveling. So there we go. We should be able to plant into this 2 to 3 year old stuff this year, and we really have very little need now for the compost that we've been making over there. So that'll probably get used for the pots that go on the patio. Okay, so here's our temporary propagator. It was just some old bits of wood and some plastic that we had laying around. It's done the job though, because we've managed to successfully start off quite a few different things down here. They've been a bit warm actually underneath, so we've got a few crunchy bits and pieces, but basically speaking, we've got everything from courgettes, butternut squash, some runner beans, again thank courtesy of Mum back in Maple Cross. We've got green beans, we've got cucumbers, melons, basil, peppers, chilies, onions, coriander I think, and some bedding flowers coming up here. So yeah, we'll have to see how they come on. Obviously tomatoes, we've got 2 lots of tomatoes. So Over there I've got a few more trays. It really, the patio's a mess, honestly, you can't walk on it at the minute. But all this, probably in another week or two, we'll be able to start moving over to those new beds. So here we are back in the garden. We're going to show you a couple of weeks further on again. 2 to 3 year old compost. We've got a couple of courgettes gone in there, baby courgettes coming up. The bed here, we've got a couple of green beans. Again, this is the 2 to 3 year old compost, so they're taking in quite nicely. We've heard if you put hay down, you might sort of eliminate some of the pest problems, but we'll wait and see how that works. Over here in the fresh compost, we've got butternut squashes, which seem to be doing quite nicely there. Loving it even more are a couple of pumpkins at the end. This is the fresh manure that we were talking about.
Hugel Kulture.
This is the Hugel Kulture bed where we've got the dead wood underneath. So the wood seems to be rotting down quite nicely, although I think really next year's going to be the year where we start seeing a real difference. The Ruth Stout method, we've got a couple of potatoes showing already.
There's about 7.
Actually, there are. There's 4,
2, 3,
5,
4, 5, 6,
6.
7.
I think I saw one
7.
baby one here. 7, yeah. 7 coming up. So they're coming up quite nicely. Still nothing in this bed. Still nothing in this bed. Everything over on the patio is a bit too small. And in the 2 to 3 year old compost, what we've got here are the runner beans. We seem to be loving that completely. And yeah, everything's looking quite nice and healthy. So there we go. That's where we're at, and hopefully everything else on the patio will come into fruition a bit later on. So here we've got the result of mowing around. Basically we just left these nice areas with all the flowers. We'll probably show you a bit more tomorrow. It's getting quite late in the day now, but the bees go nuts for this. In fact, we've got one little fella there who's quite enjoying it. 2 in fact. Yeah, basically they love it. They love all this, so the more we can keep of it encourages them to come into the garden. Lovely area, draws the bees in straight over the top of your veg, everything you want pollinating really. So we've got all types of, all varieties of bits and pieces going on here. I'll look up some of the names of them, not that great, but obviously the typical buttercups, dandelions. I had the name for this one earlier, but I'll list it in, or take it in. Yeah, and this is late in the day, not so busy, but first thing in the morning, you cannot walk for the number of bees that are in here having a field party.